Thought I'd make a video of how to install a fast 102 intake manifold on a Gen 3 LS1 to be specific. There's not many videos telling you exactly what you need and stuff that you have to do before you install one of these intakes in your car. And pretty frustrating when when you're trying to piece stuff together. You think you have everything sorted out, finish everything in one weekend, but that's not the case usually when you have a project car like this. First off, I guess we'll get into the throttle body. I went with a War throttle body. Didn't have too much problems at the tuner dialing this thing in. Just maybe a little bit, but not too much. And I just couldn't justify buying a Nick Williams for like $500 when you can buy this for 150, 160 around there. Heard good reviews on it. So we start with that, and then you gotta go here with the coupler, make sure everything fits. Cold air intake. I mean, this can be different from car to car. For injectors, I did go with LS3 short style injectors. I guess just planning for the future. And you do need spacers if you want to run the LS3 style fuel rail. In my opinion, I think this was the best looking, cheapest route to do. I think the LS1 style rail looks a little funky because it's not like this cool looking stainless looking like the LS3 is or the LS2. So if you want to do LS3 rails on a 102 intake, you need spacers if you're running LS3 short injectors. I think if you're running LS2 injectors, you can get the LS3 rail and everything would fit, no spacers, nothing included. But if you're running the LS3, you need spacers. If you're running LS1 injectors, which are like the tallest, I'm not sure what you would have to run for that, but I'm pretty sure you can do research, you can figure it out. And I got these spacers from Michigan Motorsports, I think is what they're called, that website or that brand, I guess you can say. Secondly, you need to kind of figure out what mounting style or what mounting bracket you're gonna need. This is a stock one from a LS6 intake, and I don't know if you can tell, it kind of rubs right there. It rubs a little bit, just a tiny bit. Still functional. You gotta look out for that. Make sure you have, maybe you can buy like the low car. This is a low car cable. Maybe buy their low car bracket. Maybe that'll work better. Haven't investigated too much, but second of all is probably I don't know if you guys can see down there, is the steam port. I'm only running, since this is just LS1, I'm running just the front two. The back two are plugged from factory. These are 243 heads from Trailblazer SS. And they were plugged from the back, so I'm just running the two in the front. I would figure if you're running all four, you would run into more problems. But this is just the ICT billet one. And it does rub a little bit down there, but I was able to torque the intake to spec without a problem. But I would be looking in the future. I've seen people say that the LS6, the factory style steam port fits better. But when I looked online, we're on back order, so I just went on that on a pinch. Let's see what we got too. Vacuum port, pretty self-explanatory. The guys, the one in the back. There's another little nipple in the back. I just plugged it. Had no other use for it. You got to be careful. Well, it depends what car. This is a 67 Camaro. But if you have like a F body, the earlier style, I don't think there will be any difficulty fitting it in the back or the firewall. For the map sensor, I had to kind of play with it, because you see how it's facing up. It's not supposed to be facing up, it's supposed to be facing to the side, but it was hitting the firewall, so I had to just do some modifications to get that to fit. But this is just, first gen Camaro problems. The other thing is, you know, you guys got to have your PCV stuff routed correctly. You know, you don't want excessive crankcase pressure, etc., etc. I've seen 1,000 forum posts about that, and I get confused the more I read it, to be honest. So I'm just running a catch can. I think it's like a Mike Norris catch can. That to the valley cover, to the intake, and then I'm running a clean air source after the MAF. It's like right here, down here, just drilled and tapped. Going to the valve cover. What else? That's about it. But in total, I did end up spending a couple $100 after the intake. The intake was like about $1,000. Injectors was like $400 because they're like 50 bucks each. The rail was like 150. Yeah, and then I just have a quick disconnect adapter here running 6AN line all the way to the back to the fuel tank. But yeah, that's about it. Not really much other. You also, on this particular car, I didn't have to grind down the water pump. The throttle body had enough clearance to fit it, surprisingly. A lot of videos say you have to grind it down. This one worked. And this thing's the factory LS1 water pump from a 98 Corvette, so. And yeah, that's about it. Any questions, you guys can let me know in the comments. I'll be glad to answer you guys' questions. Thank you.